Well, the occupants in Andriivka expectedly did not make the right choice, so Andriivka was liberated with heavy losses for the enemy. During the operation, the 72nd Motorized Rifle Brigade of the Russian Armed Forces was defeated, which lost 3 battalion commanders, the chief of intelligence, and almost all the infantry of the 72nd Brigade, along with officers and a significant amount of equipment. Andriivka itself is no longer there. There is no place to plant a flag. It is completely, down to the brick foundation, destroyed. The heights were important and control over them is critical for the liberation of Bakhmut. The remnants of the occupants were forced to retreat, but given the saturation of the location with enemy forces and means, we can expect numerous counterattacks in the near future. Why was Andriivka so important? First of all, it is a complete control over the railroad, which is a support line for further offensive. That is, it is a necessary bridgehead for further advance, because the task of the Ukrainian forces in this direction is to encircle Bakhmut, and without Andriivka it was impossible to achieve this. The battles for this settlement were very difficult. The enemy was constantly moving reserves, because for them even the thought of losing Bakhmut is a nightmare. They've chopped up so many of their personnel here that it's logically impossible to explain it. The forces of liberation of Ukraine coped, once again showing their strength. And first of all it was possible thanks to the soldiers of the 3rd Assault Brigade. Taking and holding the settlement of Andriivka is the way to the breakthrough on the right flank from Bakhmut, and the key to the success of the entire further offensive. Here is how the soldiers of the 3rd Assault Brigade commented: "We pay a high price for the results of these battles. And for the blood of each of our fighters will be rewarded only with blood." So, the AFU liberated Andriivka. What next? Klishchiivka, Andriivka, Kurdyumivka, Ozarynivka. This is the enemy's defense belt along the railroad south of Bakhmut. All these settlements are before the railroad, and Andriivka is the first village that the Ukrainian defense forces overcame to get to the railroad. The front line there now runs in fact railroad track. Ammunition is transported to the defense belt via 2 main lines, both of which are vulnerable, and both of which the AFU strikes on. The complexity of logistics has become one of the reasons for the success of the Ukrainian defense forces, south of Bakhmut. This weakness cannot be remedied by the enemy forces in this area, only to increase their losses. In case of success in Klishchiivka, the AFU will have new opportunities, and the occupants will gradually have to roll back the entire defense line and withdraw eastward. Their defense line Opatny, Odradivka, Mykolaievka Druga is becoming a reality. By the time the video is released there may already be a report on the liberation of Klishchiivka, but at the moment there are no official reports, although the village itself is partly a grey zone. But the occupants are regularly trying to regain their positions by attacks. Even T-90M breakthrough tanks were sent towards Klishchiivka, but all these attempts were unsuccessful and only contributed to forming a scrap metal heap near the village. The purpose of Ukrainian Liberation Forces advancement is obvious, and now it is an exit to the 0513 highway. This exit will significantly weaken the logistics and as a consequence, the supply of the enemy's Bakhmut grouping. And not so much by controlling the highway itself, but by fire control of all logistics to Bakhmut from the east.